All right. There we go. I think we're live. Got a camera on here. Do that. I don't make that right now. Sweet sound. I'll get the link. Oh, is this the universal share button? It is. All right. Let's flip this around. Put that over there. And I think, it's music on. There we go. Got some music. Do 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 do. I. Do 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 do. To learn how to love and forget how to play. All right. Gonna get started here in just a minute. Set this over here. We don't advertise this. All right. I'm going off the rails on the crazy train. All right. Kill the music for now. Let's get started with this thing. How about it? So we've got Pac-Man. And I figured I'm going to work on this tonight. Why not share what's going on? So this is the Pac-Man box. This actually was one that we picked up. How has it been? 2 weeks now? 2 weeks ago on the weekend. I got it from the same guy I was picking up a Tron from. I found an eBay purchase for Tron, and he was like, hey, I've also got Pac-Man and Galaga if you're interested in a sort of a group deal. And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. So I picked up all three of them in the same weekend, the same trip, actually. I already had a truck. And it's in really nice condition. The artwork on the side is good. I don't know if I can get the camera around here for you all to see the front. Doesn't quite reach. I might have to grab the laptop. Let me grab the laptop over here and move it for just a hot second. That way I can show you all everything. So here's the front. You can see the marquee looks really nice on that. Not a whole lot of scratching in there. The bezel needs a little bit of work. And in fact, it doesn't have a shroud around the monitor. So you can really see, like, when the doors open, right now, you can't really, yeah, right behind there, you can see the carpet and everything. There should be like a black shroud all the way around the monitor here. And so I've got to look for something like that. But the control panel's really clean. The monitor's obviously got some burn in. That monitor's turned off. But, you know, you can clearly tell what game it was running on. And that's, you know, that's all Pac-Man games, you know, unless you had a brand new monitor in there, which doesn't really happen. You know, they tend to have a lot of that burn in because it's just the same map all the time, right? So that's normal. But we are going to try and get this working. So here's the thing. It was working for, you know, a couple days or something, but it had some like weird monitor glitching issues. You know, it was kind of, you know, wavy, what they call hum bars, where it's making some weird sounds and there was some vibration. So there may be a power supply issue there. But even beyond that, you know, it would just like, I would turn it on and the frequency was off on it and it would start just going crazy on the screen. And so I was trying to adjust that, and I made the really stupid mistake of trying to adjust the monitor with a metal screwdriver. Don't do that. And I slipped at one point, I guess. It touched the side of the chassis and I heard a big pop, and that was it. So the monitor is dead at this point. Now, when I say dead, it's not, you know, hosed. That monitor, the tube itself is perfectly fine. And in fact, a lot of this control panel, I think, is fine. So should probably explain a little bit of how this works. Let me go around the back and I'll show you the back of the monitor, and you can kind of get a sense of how this is all put together. So yeah, so you can see there. So the tube is down there, and let me turn this light on in here and get a sense of it. So that's the monitor tube, and you can see right down here is the back neck here, and then off to the right hand side here would be the control board. The control board I've got on my bench over here, this thing right here. So that's the monitor control board. This is the neck board. This actually goes onto the back of the tube and you power it up. So this is really what's driving a lot of it. The tube is just electrons firing on a screen. You know, it's got a whole lot of voltage there and it's electrons moving around and stuff, but this is converting it all. It's telling it what to do. It's getting the feed from the CPU, from the PCB for the actual game, and this is what's driving it all. And this is actually what's dead, not the tube, presumably. And in fact, I can prove to you as much that we've got some action on here, because if I turn it on, let's see. You can see right inside there, the lights turned on inside the marquee. And in fact, the thing plays blind. So if I go over here and I hit start, I have the volume down really low, but you can kind of hear it. Yeah, the volume's turned down quite a bit, but it's actually playing. So it's playing blind. We need to get the monitor working. So that is going to be our goal tonight. We're going to act really confident and say that Tim's going to get this thing up and running and play a game of Pac-Man before this live stream is over. What do you think? Think we can do it? Take a swig of beer. I think we can do it. So I've done a little bit of legwork already, and I actually have some parts and kind of have a sense of where we're going on this. Part of it is that the first thing that you want to check when something like this blows is a fuse. And the board has 2 fuses on it. I'm going to take the camera. Actually, let's drop this down here just to give you a sense of what I'm working on. So the board itself has 2 fuses. One of them I've already removed This is the one that's pretty much bad, and you can really tell that. Look how dark it is. But what was tricky about this one, and I was testing both fuses, there's this one, and then there's one on the board in the bottom left-hand side here. You'll see big long fuse. You see that one down there? So it's kind of hard to see. It's tucked there in the corner here. But so there's two fuses on it. The long one actually looks pretty clean, but you can't really go by looks with fuses. But this other one looked dark as shit. And so I was like, well, let me test them. And so I got my multimeter out here. Oh, got so much stuff flying around here. You know, you switch this over to continuity. So, you know, that's just looking to see whether or not there's a connection if you touch the two together. Makes a little beeping sound. And so you can touch between two things. So, for example, let's take that large fuse that's over here. If I reach on both sides, I'm going to touch one side and then the other. And this is a crappy multimeter, but so that fuse is good. And that happened with both of them. And so at first I was like, okay, it's not a fuse. Well, then what is it? But then somebody on the Killer List of Video Games forums, Clav, said you have to actually take the fuses out and test them. If they are in the board, then they are completing a circuit and they will show that they have continuity even when they're dead. And sure enough, I took this dark, nasty one out. You have to desolder it. They don't have fuse holders, which is something that we're going to fix in this. But it didn't have a fuse holder, so I had to unsolder this out. You can see it's got those two legs. You might be able to see that. It's got two legs on the bottom of it. Desoldered it out of there and then did a test and touched the two sides. Nothing. Completely dead. So that's an easy fix. We're going to replace this one fuse. And what I like to do, you know, because I think it's probably smart, there's a couple other repairs that I want to do to try and make the image on this a lot better. But the first thing we want to do is try replacing one thing at a time so that we don't screw something up and then not know which thing we screwed up. So we're going to work slowly and methodically through this, first with that small fuse, and then we'll probably replace the big one as well because we have it, and I'd like to have both of them be in actual fuse holders. But then I have a cap kit. So this came, you know, this came from, where did it come from? Arcade Parts and Repair. It actually came really fast. I was shocked. I ordered this like 2 days ago, maybe. But I think they're Missoula. How about that? So in Missoula, but it came, you know, 2 days, really fast. So that's awesome for them. And so I've got fuses in here. Open this up. Not over here. So we got a few things in here. Pull that out, and that's trash. All right. People with a giveaway. All right. This is trash as well. All right. Let's pull this open and see what we're working with. So these guys are the actual fuse holders. Just something to grab onto those. So we can actually solder those into the board and then be able to pop a fuse in and out very easily. So that's one thing that we're going to do on all of these. So I got a pack of, there's 5 of these, and they work for both fuse sizes. Here's the small fuse. This is a 1 amp, 250 volt, 5 of them. Again, they weren't really expensive, so went ahead and got a 5-pack. Never hurts to have extra. And then this is a 3 amp, 250 volt. Oh, interesting. They're the same size. Well, I may have grabbed the wrong 3 amp. Oh, I was supposed to get 125 volt. Huh. All right, well, maybe we aren't replacing the big fuse then. But hopefully I got the right size for the small fuse. Huh. Okay. That's funny. I saw 3 amps, and so I just assumed I had it right. And on the board it says 3 amp, 125 volt, and it's a lot longer. And these are smaller, so I don't think it's the same one. So I'll double check myself to be sure, but we'll probably leave that off until I am. And then the last thing I got is actually something that you should do on a lot of monitors that likely have not been touched. And I don't think this one has really been serviced. It's hard to tell, but it really doesn't look like it's been serviced in a while, is a cap kit. And a cap kit is a whole bunch of capacitors. You can see them on the board here. There are all of those things that look like tubes on there. So that's a capacitor, that's one, that's one, that's one. They're all over here on the board. And, you know, capacitors store a bunch of energy in there. And, you know, on a monitor, as they start to go bad, and they do with time, the picture starts to get off. You know, it doesn't go out completely sometimes, but what will happen is your colors aren't as bright, or, you know, the thing starts getting wavy. It's not a clear picture, all these kind of things. And some of it, you've got monitor adjustments you can make too, but some of it is just the components starting to age and not age very well. And so a cap kit, this was like $10 or something, but it does take quite a bit of work. You can see all of the caps that are in here. And what we're going to have to do is desolder every single one of them off of this board one at a time, and then put the new one in and solder that in. And we'll do that methodically. If you get it wrong, you really screw up. You could have capacitors explode on you, or the board will just get fried, or the chassis will just get completely fried. So you have to be pretty methodical about it. But if you have the right tools, and I do, it's not a bad thing. This is, in all full disclosure here, this is the first time I'll have done a cap kit. But I have all the tools. I've replaced chips before. I kind of have some sense of what I'm doing here. So we're going to do that. We'll probably do it tonight, unless changing this one fuse out takes forever. So, because remember, our main goal is that I play a game of Pac-Man. And I've already been talking for probably 20 minutes or so, but we're not worried too much about time. We've got beer, we've got parts, we've got soldering guns. Let's get to it. Why don't we? So, first fuse, the one that we think is dead on here. I've already kind of desoldered it, and I actually did that before I got this bad boy. This thing is beautiful. This is a Hakko or Hakko FR301, and this is a desoldering gun. This thing is awesome. You turn the thing on, give it about a minute to heat up, and then this nozzle is like a soldering gun. It's going to get hot, and you touch it to anywhere that you want to remove solder. It starts melting it. Pull the trigger, and it vacuums it right up into there. So it's really easy to remove components with this. So we'll be using that on the underside of this, obviously, to remove parts, but I didn't have that at the time. So I was actually just taking a soldering iron and kind of prying up the fuse while holding the soldering iron underneath. It was not as nice, but we got it off. But we'll probably just do a little bit of cleanup here. I'm going to move this around. Oh, and the other thing I should mention, I was showing this stuff to Jim earlier today, and man, I got a little bit of a shock from it, which kind of, I don't want to say it shocked me. It surprised me. You know, I knew that working with monitors, you can get a shock, but I didn't think the chassis would hold anything. And I was reading up on it this evening, you know, because I'm dealing with this again. I'm fooling around with this. And so I wanted to know what I'm dealing with. And I think it was this guy here, this one that looks like the big massive capacitor. This is called a filter cap. It's not one that we're going to replace because they don't really go as bad as the others. I don't think it needs to be replaced, but I think it holds a charge. And I just, you know, I was grabbing it with both hands underneath, and I was like, oh man, all of a sudden I could just kind of feel it. So I don't know if it was one of these others, or, but I think it was this filter cap that was here. So I'm going to be careful of that. I've read that you can discharge it, and I've got, in fact, let's try to do that just to save my sanity. If I turn this upside down, this is the filter cap right here. You've got positive and negative leads on there. And so if we want to drain it, we kind of have to, I've got, where is it? I've got this guy. It's a screwdriver with a piece, like long, almost speaker wire, like really heavy duty wire that's been connected to the screwdriver. And then on the end here, I can attach this to a ground. And so I've got a ground wire here. This is just going to kind of empty it into the chassis, but better than emptying it, or not the chassis, but into the metal casing. But we kind of want to get it out of that filter cap just because I don't want to touch it. Now this might make a popping sound. I'm going to do this out of the way here real quick. And this is fun that this is on a live stream, right? I've never done this before. And if I do it wrong, who knows what will happen? Will this explode? So we've got a couple leads on here. Up here it says positive. The colored area on the bottom here is negative. And then this has two other ones that I'm not sure about. But I think we just need to have the positive and negative finish the circuit for it to kind of cancel itself. Or I could touch each of them individually and just kind of get this thing, you know. There you go. And now it's discharged. And that's not discharged into my body. So hopefully that spark is kind of scary, but hopefully that doesn't actually kill the filter cap. I don't think it does. I think it just discharges it. But you never know when you read from people who say like, oh yeah, I discharge mine all the time. They might be replacing it. I don't know if they're replacing it or not. I'm not replacing this one, so hopefully it still works. I think it is. That's just releasing everything, but that's the point of a capacitor, is that it holds all of that in. And they tend to do it even when they are completely unplugged. So, whew, all right. That woke you up, didn't it? Jesus. So, all right. So I can at least be reasonably confident now that I could kind of touch the board. See, I didn't want to be afraid of the board, but that doesn't really help all that much. It kind of makes me nervous. So what I want to do is look for where the fuse was. And it's got markings on the back of it. And you know what? I'll go ahead and pull up. While I'm at it, I'm going to pull up the monitor guide. So G07, just to get a schematic in front of me. Reclaim Arcade. I've just been, there's a flow chart. Yeah. That way I'm not hunting around for stuff. Much more useful when we get to doing the cap kit, if we do it tonight. But yeah, this is good. So this, I'll just show you my screen real quick, you know, and I can zoom in here, but this is going to have basically your whole layout, you know, and there's one of the fuses, 1.25 amp, 125 volt. So is that what we have? Oh, you know what? I might not have the right fuses altogether. We might not be repairing this. 1.25 amp, 125 volt. I've got to look up because I thought I was grabbing the right fuse for the G07. And I wonder, maybe you can use them that are higher. But that gives you a sense of where it should be on the board. So we've got over here. So, and they've all got numbers attached to them. So C903, or sorry, F901 was the fuse that we were working with. Goes up and down on here, and I should be able to find it. Oh, not quickly, but at some point it's a little bit easier if I look from the front and then turn it around. So it went, let me see. Make sure y'all can see this in here. So it's pretty much right next to that filter cap that we just discharged, up and down on there. So if I flip this around now, and this is it right here, F901 is the fuse. And you can actually see, that's interesting because I was wondering, I wanted to put those fuse holders in. And I was like, God, where are they going to go? Because what I took out just had a single lead on each side, whereas the fuse holders have two legs on each side. But look at this. You can actually kind of see, I don't know if I can't really zoom in. It might be hard to see in there, but there's actually a space for two legs on either side. And it looks like they basically just soldered them. So right here and here, here and here. And that's where we would put these guys in. We would take one leg on each side and pull those in. But you can see they're covered in solder, as well as, because of my shitty job getting the other one out, I still have solder left over. So from the original fuse. So I'm going to turn on the desoldering gun, and we're going to get that one out. While that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and look up whether or not I ordered the wrong thing. Arcane. Now this chassis is an Electro Home. I don't know if I said this. An Electro Home G07, which apparently is one of only like 2 or 3 types of monitors that were used in Pac-Man. So I think this actually was original Pac-Man. Now, when you're doing repair type stuff, you could have a monitor in a game that had, you know, the tube is one brand, the chassis is another, the game itself, you know, it could have been swapped out at some point. So you never really know. But this chassis was made in 1981, and it's an Electro Home. So I actually think this is probably one of the original chassis, or the person who was replacing it at some point used a fairly original one. So, but we're going to go in here, monitor parts. I wanted to look at the fuses that I bought. So, pretty sure I searched for the right one. So if I search G07 fuse on this place, they're all 250 volts. Now there are some that are different amperages though. And this said on the board it's 1.25, and it looks like I may have only bought a 1 amp. So the question is, will it work? I bought a 1 amp 5-piece. Such as the G07 in location 901. All right. This website says that's used in F901 on a G07. So I'm going to go with what they're saying and put this in here. You know, I think this is where my knowledge of electronics starts to fail me just a little bit. But maybe the numbers on fuses don't necessarily have to match up. So the first thing we want to do is remove all of the old solder here. And if I could get this, let me see if I can get this even lower. That way y'all can kind of get a sense of what I'm looking at. Now, I'm sorry for the glare here, but this is where we're working. So you can almost see the 4 legs here right beside that circle. And so you'll see this as I'm taking off the old solder. So I'm going to take my gun out. It should already be heated up. And I'm just going to touch it here. It starts melting the solder. And there it is. Same up here. And that sucked out all that solder. So now you can kind of see those are a little bit cleaner. And then I'm going to actually get all the solder out of these 4 legs. That's a tight fit on that one. That one doesn't have as big of a hole, but I think it'll do. So that's all removed now, which means we should be able to start putting our holders into there. And they've got little legs on it. So I'm going to flip this back around. At this point, I just grab the sides of the chassis. I'm not touching the bottom of it at all. Because even though it's sparked like that, I just, I'm not trying to play God here. I have nothing to prove. But you do have to kind of work in this. And actually, this doesn't have to come off because the whole thing comes together. But I'm just going to take it off because it's a little bit in the way. Oh, man. This is... Well, I said I would. Maybe it's... Oh, can I get underneath of it with the... Yeah, fuck it. It's not worth worrying about. So we've got 2 here. God, I swear I almost need... I don't know if I have a pair of needle nose pliers somewhere. I've got little snips. That might work. So just... And I apologize. This is probably not an interesting view here. Maybe it is. Not sure how that angle's coming through, but oh, Jesus. All right, let me scoot this camera a little bit out of the way. I'm actually gonna sit down, make things a little bit easier. Let's see. And I think if we hold the board up, I can get this in. All right. Oh, Jesus Christ. These monitor chassis are really tightly laid out. All right. That's one in there. I don't know if you can see that one. So we're going to put the other one right next to it. And these legs are shaped in a way to where they should kind of prong out. Is that a term? Prong out, motherfucker? All right. But we should be able to get these in here and they're not going to fall out when we turn it upside down to solder. There we go. All right, so they're sitting in there. They're kind of loose right now, obviously. But we're going to solder it in, and then it won't be loose anymore. And yeah, that's a little bit of a pain getting these in here, like anything. But these legs being connected inside there is going to be so much nicer, because then we could just pop a fuse in and out. No worries. Easy peasy. Now, I almost need... Actually, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my soldering iron now, because this is just for desoldering and we're done doing that. Doesn't do both, but I almost need something to press up against it. The legs of it are coming through, but not cleanly. You know? I think... Actually, all right, so it seems silly to do this, but I'm going to stick one of the fuses in there. So one of these 1 amp fuses going in. Oop. Not 4 of them, 1 of them. Goodness. And the reason I'm going to do that is because that will kind of line them up a little bit better. Oh, we'll get a sense of it. Man. Huh. God, these fuses are tiny. Let me get... I know that's almost impossible to see. I wonder if I come up and get a top-down view on this. So it's right next to here. So right here. And it's a tiny fuse and it almost doesn't even fit in there. So I've got these little, like, they're meant for monitor adjustment, but they're nylon. So got those after I shorted this damn thing. I'm just gonna move it around. Ooh, look at these things though. Because now it's just like, it's barely even sitting in there. Yeah, it's not even in these holders. I don't know if I pressed down too hard or what on this, damn it. All right, pull this out. Or maybe I can just squeeze them back together again. These are cheap things, but I do think the time will be made worth it a little bit by the ability to easily change out a fuse. So comparing. Oh, it's got a front and a back. All right, squeeze it back together. So let's see if you can see this. It actually has, it's kind of hard to tell here, but it's got a front and a back to it. See the little legs, not legs, but there's a little piece in the back of it that holds it in. So this fuse is going to kind of sit inside of it like that. From the top might be the best view, but it can't go past that point. So now the other one I did put in the right way, so that makes sense. So if I line this up now and then drop it, because I can't reach with my big fingers. All right. see if I can't get this. Oh, come on. Man. Changing out chips and stuff is so much easier because there's not a bunch of shit in your way. You know, a clean PCB with some chips on it, way easier than this, which is made all the more difficult by all the big pieces in the way here. But enough complaining, Tim. All right. That's in there. It's still loose. Obviously, it's not soldered in yet, but I think having it in there will make it pretty easy to solder. And I may hold it upright as opposed to turning it upside down, just so I can solder sideways. Now, I almost hate that you all are watching me soldering because I'm awful at it, but I've got 4 posts here. Just going to take my iron, heat up right beside the leg of it. That's one. Let me get this. Oh man, I need to get a new tip for this thing. This thing is almost shot. It just almost wants to refuse to tin the solder. I'll come back to that and see if I need to clean it up, but it is on there. That one's on. I could use a little bit more. As you can see, the desoldering gun, a lot easier to use. This guy has just seen better days. That one's good. It's pretty good. Roll on there is pretty good. I'm trying to smooth out, yeah, that one. All right. I think that looks pretty good. Let me, yeah. So one side of one of them doesn't look that great. That's good. There's a bridge. Let me just clean that up. bridged one thing over there. I need to remove it. I'm going to do that. This thing is still heating up. Ooh. As I burn myself. All right. That gets hot really super fast. Jesus. All right. I'm going to remove this guy. Just cleaning up those contact points. Fuck. That hurt. All right. All right. One more time. This. This. All right. She's ugly, but she's in there. So I think we're going to call that done there. Now, fuck. I got myself good with that desoldering iron. Man, just leaned right over. Fuck, that hurts. All right, well, shit happens. Now, I think so that's in there. Got a nice little fuse holder. The fuse is in there pretty strong. So I think we're good to go on that aspect of the repair. What I want to do is put it all back together now, and we'll try and see if we can't get it turned on. All right, so let's do that. Pull this out. So now the way to put these back together, blah, 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 blah. Move this microphone over here. Go ahead and turn the camera in this way so y'all can see the inside of the monitor chassis. That. Take the entire thing over here. And this had 2 screws, yeah. I'll go ahead and get my screws, get this guy. It's the right size, I think. Yes. So the first thing we'll do is actually mount the chassis back in there. It's just 2 screws and basically slides in. So I'm going to take this whole thing over here. And this is going to go, hey, let's unplug things while we work. It's a great idea, Tim. Good job. All right. Let that dangle down for a minute. So this guy's going up in here. It's just going to follow. right there. And put my drill. It's beside me. Oh, Tim, where'd you put the drill? Right beside me. Here we go. Oh, Jesus. All right. So I'm going to take one and get it ready. Once you get one in, the second one's a little easier, but we're just going to. There we go. Now the second one, I say it's easier, but it's tucked in the not so convenient location. I'm just going to feel for it. There. So that's in there. One nice thing about this chassis is that you can take it out without taking the whole monitor out. I didn't know that at the time, but now I know. When I first started working on this, let's get you guys in here. Kind of move that. So the board's in there, and we need to connect a few things. So maybe I will hang this back up. We need to connect the neck board here. And that just goes on like that. This is going to go on the neck board right here. We can figure out the direction. This is there, just like that. We need to connect the power, which is this guy, which goes into here. And these Molex connectors, there's only one way they can go in, so you can't screw that up. My ground wire here, they kind of, I need to clean this up. They kind of jerry-rigged this. Jerry-rigged. So, but for now, I think, actually, I'm going to go get a wing nut. Not a wing nut, you know what I mean. One of those. Let's go get one of those. Wire nut. Wing nut. Wing nut, wire nut. I'm nuts. Let's see. So these are, actually, they're probably in my toolbox, which is down there. Because you always want to make sure you have ground. And they just kind of soldered it. Which, I mean, I guess it works. But, all right. I'm going to take one of these guys. See if I can't just put these two together and combine them. This is ugly, but it might get the job done. And I'm actually guessing from the looks of the white wires here, that's exactly what they were using before, and it fell off and fell away somewhere at some point. That's not in there very well. The white ones are. Jesus. All right. Let's get pliers out here. What did I just do with that wire nut? Oh, I set it up here. All right. That should be okay for now. It's not super clean, but it'll work. The next thing we need to do is plug this guy in. This is going down here. Sorry, this is not a great view, but this one, you can almost see like it's keyed in a way where like one is offset a little bit from the other four. So again, very straightforward, hard to get wrong. God, that thing came off again. All right, I've got to deal with that. Find a ground for that. This guy, so this goes directly into the tube. I have discharged this thing so many times, but I'm still going to do it again. So I'm going to grab my screwdriver. I'm going to ground it. I'll probably just ground it here to the side of the monitor. And I'm just going to touch that. And there was actually a tiny little spark there. And I mean, I have done this every time I've worked with it, but there was a little spark there. Even little sparks, you don't want to be flowing through you. So, you know, and the other thing is you work so much with this stuff, you build up static. It's never fun. All right. So that's on there. Pretty good. And then the video. This is getting very tight. And this is actually a very tight fit. These cables don't have a lot of give to them. Oh, I forgot to. There's a degaussing coil that goes down here. Man. After all this, it'd be a bummer if the monitor didn't even turn on. I can live with the picture not being okay, but I would like that fuse to have resolved the issue that I created. There we go. All right, so the video feed is just two wires, two Molex connectors. Those go in there. We just have to ground this thing, and this is ground. This is what it was connected to, but maybe just a bigger wire nut to accommodate all this stuff. I don't know if that's why it's yelling at me, or if it's because it's so fucked. All right, that's in there. I'm done with my discharging screwdriver. Double check everything, but I think we're all hooked up at this point. So we can plug this thing in. I don't even know if I flip the switch to turn it off. But we'll plug the thing in, see where we are. No, I didn't flip the switch. Oh well. Moment of truth, people. Let's see if we have anything on the screen. We do. It's a mess, but it's something. I can work with that. That actually makes me really happy. Let's set my laptop over here because, yeah, that's awesome. Now, the fact that the video feed is not coming in right means I plugged something in wrong, but that is so much easier to deal with. Yeah, look at that. We've got video. All right, I'm going to turn it off. I actually think I know which wire I might have plugged in wrong. And while I'm at it, I'm going to move something for my laptop to sit on because I've got it sitting on Smash TV right now. Makes me a little nervous. All right. There was one cable in here where the Molex connector didn't quite indicate. And now the monitor's charged, so I got to be a little careful here. I'm going to flip this guy around. Now I've got that in right. Okay. I take that back. I plugged that in right to begin with. Harness was a little loose. I wonder, would it be that easy? No, right? Give it a moment to boot up. No, it's got gibberish on the screen. And I'm trying to figure out what that might be. It's almost a issue on the board because of, it's still playing blind. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty trippy. Yeah, but that's junk. What is up with that? All right. I'm going to actually maybe try turning the light off. And I'll get let me get one of these monitor adjustment tools. I can actually kind of see it. Now, the one when I end up, that's yeah, look at that. Gotta find the right kind of thing to, I think maybe one of these hex ones. It's got adjustment pots on the back that you can turn, and that's what I was using the metal screwdriver with when I popped everything. So I'm not going to do that, obviously, but I would like to adjust that. One's too small. So I got this whole set of them. Maybe this last one here. Kind of goofy. Did I not even get one that's... Let me take all these out and look at them real quick. So, just so you're not staring at crazy Pac-Man screen, I've got these alignment tools, and I'm trying to find one that fits in to the adjustment pot on the back for frequency. I don't think it's a frequency issue, but this one looks like it might be it. Let's see. Let's see, damn it. If not, this might work too. So these are anti-static so that you won't short something out in the process of adjusting. That's not big enough. Will this turn it? Yes. So that looks like a video issue though, which just makes me think it's not plugged in right or something. I'm gonna turn it off one more time and double check where everything is plugged in, because I really don't trust myself on this. I think. Yep. Knock that over. That's cool that the fuse worked though, right? I mean, it wouldn't be the ground wire either, would it? No, I don't think it's that. I think maybe. Man, things are getting hot in there now. Makes it harder to fool around with it. That resistor gets like smoking hot. Which feels wrong to me. May have to do some searching. It sucks. I really wanted to say we could play a game, but at least the monitor's turning on. It didn't even have power before. When that fuse blew, that was all she wrote. Now it's getting power, but it's just this weird gibberish on the screen. So may have to call it there. We're an hour 15 in. Let's see. And yeah. Prong out. All right. It's such a hard thing to search too. So there's some good troubleshooting. No high-pitched squeal or anything. Yeah, see, it's talking about shorts. I don't think there's a short, though. Freeze video, board will not boot. See, because the thing is, it is booting. I'm looking through, I guess you ought to look at the monitor. I'm looking at this website. And it shows pictures of different issues and how to resolve them. And on ours, I haven't found a picture that kind of represents it yet. On ours, we've got random characters all over the screen, just like zeros and random stuff. But the game plays. Wow, there are a lot in here. This is an awesome resource, though. Need to bookmark this. Graphics look like Egyptian hieroglyphics. 5E and 5F are switched. I have to confess, I don't know what 5E and 5F are. I mean, it's probably a chip on the board, but we didn't touch the board, so I'm fairly certain there's no short on there. See, if I was guessing, there's a video cable, and I'm just wondering, I keep saying it, did I plug it in backwards? Which is kind of like one version of, have you tried to turn it off and back on again? But we've got power. We've got a picture. We are it might be easier if let me pull power on this thing for a second. So I'm going to take the power out for a second. I'm not going to have a lot of room, but what I'd like to do, what I'd like to do is take it out for just like 2 seconds, just to look at it. But I also don't like sticking a big metal screwdriver up in there. Or my hand, for that matter, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I'm going to take it out. It's just... It's 1, 2. Now, I'm not going to have a whole lot of room here. I am going to have to take some things off, like this degaussing cable here, but you know, this at least lets me double check some things. Namely, it's this video. God. This is the video cable. If you were asking me, I would say maybe it was put in wrong, but I think that one was backwards. All right. If that was backwards, then my theory was right all along. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because I may have just plugged it in the exact same way it was before. Oops. Screw one of these in here. Man, that video cable is so freaking tight. Oh well. Let's keep moving. All right, degauss coil back in. All right, we're grounded. We're gonna put power back to it. I think that's all I unplugged. Let's see if that makes any difference whatsoever. If not, we'll just have to call it. I'll let you all experience it with me. Let's see where we are. No go. Still gibberish on the screen. So we are not playing Pac-Man tonight unless you count this as playing. So in any case, you know, I've got to do a little bit more research on it, but we did bring that monitor back to life, and clearly it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm not doing a cap kit on the thing at all. I'm just not. But we got the fuse replaced on it. We put the fuse holder in, so if we need to put the fuses in again later on, we can do that. I got burned, not badly. Yeah, it sucks. Touch that damn thing. That damn thing. That awesome desoldering gun. Yeah, it's not meant for human flesh. But that's it. that's everything. My laptop's going to die here. Plug that in, but who knows? Maybe I'll do this again. I don't know if the live stream is useful or not, but it's kind of nice to talk it out. But on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe it distracts me too. Maybe it's your fault that it doesn't work. Huh? Have you ever thought about that? Have you? Anywho, thanks for watching. We'll do more repairs in the future. Maybe we'll do some Smash TV action. Get some joysticks installed. Might be waiting on a few things for that, but got some other stuff coming up soon. Thanks for watching, y'all. Later.